Hey everyone, it's rcktman checking in. I appreciate you being here. So this is going to be my third year of giving my NHL playoff predictions. I'm going to be going over each series, letting you know who I think is going to win, filling out my bracket challenge bracket, and ultimately letting you know who I think is going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I apologize if this video is posted a little bit later than most other videos of this style. Long story short, my work schedule's been crazy, so I'm filming and editing and posting this as soon as I possibly can, but if it's posted a little bit later than most, that's why. So I figured I would just give you that warning if this is posted Monday night or something like that. But appreciate you being here again, and I'm gonna keep the intro short. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so I'm here at bracketchallenge.nhl.com. This is the website where if you want to fill out a bracket for yourself and see how you do, this is the website where you would go to fill it out. You do need to have an NHL.com account. I created mine a couple years ago for free, and I believe it's still free to create. I'd be surprised if they changed that, but that's the website where you're going to want to go. And for my... I can't type. I'm sorry. I still cannot type. For my bracket, I'm just going to name it Rocketman's official bracket. Hit save bracket name there. And they actually changed the layout of the bracket challenge. I actually really like this layout. They have the Eastern Conference logo in the background here, the Western Conference logo in the background here for each conference respectively. And overall, I actually really like the look of this bracket. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. We're going to start in the East, or we're going to move our way to the West, go back and forth for each round, and then ultimately get to a Stanley Cup champion. So let's get into it. So our first matchup is going to be the President's Trophy winning Boston Bruins against the Florida Panthers, who were the second wild card in the Eastern Conference. Ironically, Florida was actually a team that won the President's Trophy last year, so it's kind of funny that now they're on the opposite end of the coin from last season, where they were the President's Trophy and had the home field advantage. But let's go ahead and just get into this. I'm not going to waste time. This series is going to be Boston. I am going to give more credit than probably some other people will for Florida. I think Florida has a very, very aggravating style of play with Matt Tkachuk and some of those other players there. And I do think that Florida is going to give Boston more of a challenge than some people might expect, but I do think Boston's going to end up winning that series pretty handedly. Boston was the best regular season team in NHL history, 65 wins and what was that, 135 points. I mean, they were the best regular season team in history for a reason, so I have no reason to go against them in this series. All right, and then our second matchup in the Eastern Conference is going to be a rematch from last year's first round. It's Toronto versus Tampa Bay. Toronto, again, is the higher seed. Tampa Bay, again, is the lower seed. I'm crazy. I might be crazy for saying this, and I've been thinking about this for the past couple minutes, and it still feels weird to say, but I think this is the year Toronto finally does it. I think this is the year they finally make it out of the first round. And I know that Tampa Bay has a history of doing this in their past couple of seasons. They've done this where they've gone cold right before the playoffs start and then turned it on in the playoffs and made it all the way to the final, 1, 2, 3 in the final. But I just, the moves that Toronto's made at the deadline, bringing in guys like Ryan O'Reilly, Noel Acciari, they still have their top six, which you can argue is the most lethal top six in the NBA. And I don't know how many people would argue with that. I just got to think that this is the year that they finally do it and pull through. And if they don't win this series this year as a favorite over Tampa Bay, I think there's a legitimate chance Toronto, the city, might burn itself to the ground from all the Leafs fans rioting, because I don't think they could take another year of losing in the first round. They've lost 6 straight in the first round. If they make it 7, it's not going to be pretty. So, for the sake of Steve Dangle and all of Leafs Nation, just please, Toronto, finally pull through and win a round. I mean, it's been funny laughing at the Leafs, but now it's just getting to the point where it's sad. If they don't pull through and win soon, preferably this year, I don't know how much more the Leafs fans could take. Alright, so moving on, our next matchup is my favorite team, the Hurricanes, taking on the Islanders. Now, the Hurricanes just barely, by a single point, managed to hold on to the Metro Division title, and the Islanders made it in as the first wild card. Now, I am going to take the Hurricanes in the series, but I don't feel comfortable. I don't trust the team right now. They have not looked the same since Svechnikov went down with the ACL tear. Svechnikov is a huge part of the goal scoring in Carolina, along with Max Pacioretty, who was brought in to be a pure goal scorer. And like, you can't be mad at either of them. Svechnikov tore his ACL. Pacioretty tore his Achilles twice. You can't fault them for that. But regardless, the team just has not stepped up and filled in where those two players were producing offensively as far as goal scoring and playmaking. The team just has not been able to fill those holes. And I think this series is going to be probably the most boring, quote unquote, of any of these series. It'll be probably each game ending like 2-1 in overtime, 3-2, stuff like that. Low scoring defensive battles. The Islanders, Sorokin, if not for one Linus Ullmark in Boston, Sorokin would probably be getting the majority of votes, I should say, for the Vezina this year because of the work he's done. At times, single-handedly keeping the Islanders season alive, so he definitely has the ability and the potential to steal a series for the Islanders. And there are no slashes offensively either. They're getting back Matt Barzal, who's their most potent offensive threat. So have guys like Anders Lee, Jean-Gabriel Pageau on the third line. Even like guys like Kyle Palmieri, who've had down years, they can still produce. He can still produce as well. So don't sleep on the Islanders. I know I'm not. I think this series probably ends up going the distance because I don't think the Hurricanes are going to have an easy time at all with the Islanders. All right, and our final matchup in the Eastern Conference is between the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers. Now, the Devils surprised everyone, I think, even Devils fans. I don't think we're expecting the Devils to be this good this quickly. Guys like Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier have been developing way faster than expected, and they've had a phenomenal year. And I do think that they're going to give the Rangers a run for their money, but overall, I still think that the Rangers are the better team in the series. I think the playoff experience, coupled with the fact that they still have one of the best goaltenders in the entire world in Igor Shesterkin, I just have to give the edge to the Rangers, but that is absolutely no discredit to the Devils. The Devils are going to be a threat and a force to be reckoned with for the next several years as their core continues to develop and get more experience in the playoffs. But for right now, I do think that the Rangers are just the slight favorites. And as far as how many games I think each series will take, like I said, I think Florida will give Boston more of a contest than some people expect, so I'm going to say Boston takes it in 6. I think the Bruins fans are going to travel to South Florida very well. Like I said, I think Carolina is going to take all 7 games to put away the Islanders. I think it's way closer than even Hurricanes fans are expecting. I think Toronto, for the storyline for ending this playoff drought in front of their fans, I think it's going to be in 7. And then the Rangers, I think, are going to take it in 6. I think Rangers fans are going to travel over across the Hudson Bay and travel to New Jersey very well. Okay, and moving on to the Western Conference, we have Colorado, who was the number 2 overall seed in the Western Conference. They're going to be taking on Seattle, who was the first wild card. Phenomenal story for Seattle. I mean, if not for Vegas, I think Seattle would probably be the best success story for an expansion team. I mean, they're only in their then they're already in the playoffs. Like, that's phenomenal. And full props to them for making the playoffs, because the Western Conference was no cakewalk by any means. But with that being said, I do think Colorado's the favorite here. McKinnon is just a different beast, and Mikko Rantanen has had a phenomenal year. They still have Cale Makar. Granted, Gabe Landeskog, I don't think he's going to be back for the playoffs. From what I'm hearing, be out for the rest of the playoffs. But I mean, Colorado's been doing this most of the entire year without him, and they've been just fine. And Alexander Georgiev has been very, very good in net. So I think that Colorado is the favorite, but that's no discredit to Seattle. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Dallas, higher seed, taking on Minnesota. Dallas finished 2nd in the Central. Minnesota finished 3rd. and this series could be very entertaining. If Kaprizov is back in the fold, I think this series will be a lot closer than some people might think. However, I do think that Dallas is going to. I think Jake Ottinger has proved that last year's crazy playoff performance against Calgary was not a flop. It was not a one-off. He's been phenomenal this year. Jason Robertson has had a career year. Miro Heiskanen has been very good as well. Rope Hintz has been phenomenal as well. And I do think that Dallas just overall is the slight favorite as far as quality of team. I think they're just a little bit better, but Minnesota, like I said, if Kaprizov's back in the fold, he could single-handedly change the outcome of that series. Matt Boldy's been very good as well. Philip Gustafsson has been really good for Minnesota in net, so I would not be surprised at all if Minnesota managed to surprise me here and win this series, but I do think that Dallas is going to be the favorite. Moving on to our next series, we have a rematch from 2018 between Vegas and Winnipeg. Vegas is the #1 overall seed. Winnipeg made it as the second wild card, albeit they backed their way into the playoffs because chance for a while to put away Calgary and Nashville for good, and they never did. They were never able to put their foot on the throats of Phil and kind of let them stick around in the playoff hunt for longer than they probably should have. But, you know, credit to Winnipeg, they still made the playoffs. So, with that being said, I do think that Vegas is going to end the series. I know that Winnipeg still has Hellebuck, who's one of the best goalies in the entire world, but they've been down over the past 35-40 games, and Vegas, they're getting back Mark Stone. They still have Jack Eichel. They still low on the blue line, and if Jonathan Quick channels his King's Stanley Cup run version of Jonathan Quick, then Vegas is going to be in for a long run. And our final matchup of the first round in the Western Conference, much like Toronto and Tampa, it's a rematch between two teams that met in the first round last year, and in Edmonton and LA. Now, Connor McDavid has had the single best year that we've seen in our generation. This season, he won the Hart Trophy, the Richard Trophy, running both awards. Leon Draisaitl is still there, and as long as those two guys are still on their game, Edmonton is going to win this series. And then as far as how many games each series will take, I'll say Colorado takes it in 5. I'll give Seattle 1 game. I don't think there's going to be any sweeps, but I think that Colorado's probably the closest we'll see to a sweep. Dallas, I think, will take this series over Minnesota in 6. Vegas, I could see Vegas taking the series in 5 as well as Colorado. And Edmonton, I think that series probably goes 6. I don't know necessarily if that series to 7, just because of the question marks still in net with Korpisalo, and I just don't know if LA has the firepower to match Edmonton. So we move on to the second round, Eastern Conference again first, and then move on to the Western Conference. First matchup in the Eastern Conference in the second round would be between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I do think that even though Toronto wins their first playoff series in almost 20 years, I don't think they exercise all their demons. I still think that Boston takes the series, though I do think it would be very entertaining between the two. Moving on to the second match again of the second round last year between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. I hate saying this because I really want to believe that the Hurricanes will pass the second round, but I don't see this happening against the New York Rangers. If this were to happen, the Rangers are just simply the better team. They have the better firepower on offense. They have the better goaltender, and Hurricanes, I think, have the edge in defense from 1 through 6. Defensively, I think the Hurricanes have the edge, but in offense, the Hurricanes are just not a match for the Rangers, and I think playoff experience favors the Rangers as well. All right, and then moving on to the Western Conference second round, we have a good quality matchup between the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. On one hand, it's playoff Nathan MacKinnon, it's Cale Makar, and it's Mikko Rantanen. And then on the other side, it's Jason Robertson, it's Miro Heiskanen, and it's Roope Hintz. You can't ask for a better matchup than that. As far as who I think wins, these two teams match up so well against each other that it's near impossible. It's like splitting hairs to decide which team's better. I'm gonna go Dallas, and I can't believe I'm saying that I'm going against Nathan MacKinnon, but Dallas just, I don't know. I think they might have that it factor in that series against Colorado, and I can't really explain why, but I think Dallas might win that one. And then our final matchup in the second round in the Western Conference, it's between Vegas and Edmonton. Vegas would be the higher seed in this matchup since they're the highest seed in the Western Conference. However, I think Edmonton would win that one. If McDavid is on his game, I don't know if Vegas is able to stop him. I think that's just what it comes down to. And I know it doesn't ask for it. Just go ahead and give my prediction. Each series would go in the second round. Probably takes out Toronto in 6. I think the Rangers take out Carolina in 5. I think that the Stars take out Colorado in 7. And then I think out Vegas in 6. Like I said, I know the bracket challenge doesn't ask for that, but I'll just throw that out there just as a bonus nugget for anyone who wants to know. But we move on to the conference finals, and in the Eastern, the Bruins and the New York Rangers. This is going to be probably the hottest take in the entire video. I'm going to take the Rangers over the Bruins. I think of any team in these playoffs in either conference that stacks up against the Bruins, I think the Rangers stack up the best. I think the Rangers have just as much firepower on offense as the Bruins. I think their defense is just as good as the Bruins, and I think that Shesterkin matches up against Ullmark favorably. So that might be the hottest take in the entire video, and I know people are going to be mad that I don't pick the Bruins to win the whole thing. I know people are going to be mad that I don't even pick them to make the final, but like I said, I just don't see any team matching up against the Bruins as well as the Rangers personally. And then over in the Western Conference, I do think that the Oilers take out the Stars. I just think that McDavid, when he gets on his game, I don't think even the best goalies in the entire league could stop him. And I think that the Rangers would probably take the Bruins. It would take 7 games. Oilers, I think, start in 6 games. But that would mean that my final, the Edmonton Oilers as the higher seed against the New York Rangers. And for my prediction for who's going to win the Stanley Cup this season, I do think it's going to be the Rangers. And I don't want it to be the Rangers because I would hate to see a division rival win the Stanley Cup. But I think that the Rangers are simply the best team built for a Stanley Cup run right now. They have the explosive firepower on offense with guys like Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, Artemi Panarin, even got Lafreniere, the kid like that. Have 1 through 6. They have one of the best. They still have Jacob Trouba, who's that antagonizing defensive player. And then, like I said before, they have one of the best goalies in the entire league in Shesterkin. I just think that right now the Rangers are the best team built for the Stanley Cup, final, and I think that they're going to win the whole thing. And then for my tiebreaker, total goals scored in the Stanley Cup final series. So I think that this series would probably go 6. With that being said, I think that it's going to be a lot of goals for that 6 games, so I think it's actually going to end up being enough goals to be a 7-game series worth for that. Let's say 30. Let's say 39. 39 total goals is what I'm going to guess. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up. So just to recap, I have the Rangers beating the Oilers in 6 games to win the Stanley Cup this year. Let me know why you agree or disagree in the comments. Just keep it respectful. I mean, everyone's gonna have their own opinions, and by no means am I a professional at doing this.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, that actually happened last year. So that's just proof of how bad I am at doing this. But appreciate you guys hanging out, watching this, and interacting with me. Let me know if you guys want to see me do more NHL content. I actually do have a video planned because I got to go to the Stadium Series game in February, as you can tell by the jersey, and I had a blast doing that. So I have a video idea planned around the Stadium Series, and I hope you guys, if you enjoy the content, you'll like, comment, all that stuff. But obviously, no obligation to do that at all. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or a great night if you're watching this during the nighttime, and let's have a great Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's have a great time.